Welcome to Well Played Podcast, the show on all things playful and joyful in education. I'm your host, MrMatera, sixth grade teacher, author, speaker, and best of all, father of one. Today, I'm chatting with Carol McLaughlin about taking ideas from games for your class design. So we're going to talk about really borrowing, true blue game design from these board games, card games, whatnot. But before we get into it, I am super jazzed to have Carol with us. This is definitely not your first. You are tried and true on this show, and I absolutely love having you back. Thank you again so much. But if you could introduce yourself to those that are first tuning in to Well Played.
Hello, I'm Carol McLaughlin, and I'm from Alabama, if you cannot tell from my accent. I am Miss Mac 100 on Twitter, and I'm very excited to be here.
I truly always love chatting with you. Thanks for coming on again. I really do love having those repeat guests, especially those ones that come back time and time again, because people get to know you and me together, and it's it's fun having kind of a co-host of sorts.
And I love that as a listener of your podcast. I love them. Oh, yay! I love when they're on.
Nice.
So I like that too.
All right. So this idea, this copycat idea, in the kindest of words there to say we're going to take an idea. Now, Carol has in her class, or actually her school, her new position, has implemented a game mechanic from both of our favorites. We absolutely love this game called Splendor. So before we sort of launch into your structure, I just want to give people a brief sort of idea of what Splendor is. One, you can check out my YouTube channel. There is a review from my daughter and I on how to play Splendor and why you should pick it up because it's fantastic.
And she's adorable.
And she's adorable. Not biased at all.
No.
Not at all. But so just to give you an idea is you're this gem dealer and you're collecting gems. And there's this mechanic where there are these poker chips that are gems, and they're of 5 or 6 different colors. And on your turn, you can either collect some of those poker chips, and there's some mechanics on how you collect and how many you collect, but you take some of those gems, the physical poker chips. And then there's this array of cards out there that have a cost to them, this one takes 2 green gems and 2 blue gems, and you can buy this card. Why you would want to buy the card is twofold. In the top corner, there is a gem on that card, and in the other corner, some of them have point values. So the game ends when somebody gets to 15 points. There's another way to score points too, but that really won't matter for this context, I don't think. I should maybe describe it. There are these royalty that will sort of nobles. They'll come visit you, which they're all worth, I think, 3 points. Maybe some of them are more. I don't know.
4.
But
one's 4, I think. 2 or 4.
Yeah. And you get those if you have a certain amount of cards that make gems on them. So not the actual physical gems that you have, but hey, I have 3 cards that are blue, 3 cards that are green, 3 cards that are red. This noble requires that, and if you're the first to meet that requirement, you get that noble and the points associated with it. Now, the reason we break all this down is Carol liked this idea of kind of collecting gems, looking at the array, strategizing what you want. Now, one other major piece I skipped is the cards that you collect. So if I buy that card that takes the 2 green and the 2 blue, I pay those chips back to the pot, and I put this card in front of me. And up in the corner, I told you it's got points sometimes, and it also they all have a gem in them. Mm-hmm. And whatever gem's on the card I just bought, it's I permanently always have that one. So for those of you listening, that's kind of the general overview. But why that's important is because when I want to buy that next card, if it requires 3 green gems and my card I bought has a green gem on it, I'd only have to pay the bank two green gems because I have this sort of permanent one here. Mm-hmm. And I could buy more of those so that I have 5 green gems, and then green is super easy for me. But if I do that, I'm really limited in the other
Right.
categories because I hyper, specify or became really good in this one. I'm weak all over the place. Or do you go general everywhere? Like, look, I have one gem of every color in terms of cards. But then as you try to buy those bigger, higher point values, you need like 7, 6, like 5 of those. So it's this interesting game choice. Are you going to be really specific to one? Are you going to go general across the board? Do you pick two to be moderately good in? Um, and all angling at those points. The points kind of finish the game. All right. So that is a brief overview of the game Splendor. You should all pick it up. It's great. Maybe for the holiday
Great.
season, pick it up. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, now, Carol, can you explain what you've already created, what's going on with that mechanic? And then I think Carol and I are gonna like try to like troubleshoot some ideas or just kind of spitball some ideas together.
Right. So, just a brief back of my history. It's where I am right now. I went from a public school to a private school, and we have ages second grade through seventh grade, and our teams are multi-age, multi-grade. So, I wanted to have these gyms and to play the game Splendor, but I wanted to kind of roll that out without them knowing it, which is sort of fun and sneaky on my part because I wanted them to collect them and be wondering what it's about because they knew it wasn't like the gold they could spend in our castle market where they
Mm-hmm.
could buy things like a privilege or something special. And they kept going, what are these gems for? They would earn them for different things. They're like, what are they for? I'm like, I don't know. You just have to wait and see. And it's driving them crazy. Uh, but some of them have played Splendor. So once they started getting the emerald and the ruby and the diamond, they started going, "Hey, this is like the game Splendor." I'm like, "Huh? How about that?" And they're like, "Do we get more if we collect them all?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then they started. They're just like, "Should we pull them all together?" And I don't know. You're just gonna have to wait and see. So now that they have started collecting enough gems, what they're going to do as a team is they're going to pull them all together and they have to pick 10 because in the real game you can only have 10 of the not permanent ones at one time. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have to pick 10 without seeing any of the properties because in the game you wouldn't
You would
necessarily
see
see them to
you
right.
would see the array, yeah.
Right. So they're going to have to pick beforehand, which I like just that mystery part just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll pick which 10 they want to keep as a team. And then I've made scenes just like the properties in Splendor, because we're a Christian school with biblical things. We have Bethlehem and Sea of Galilee and the Wall of Jericho. Anyway, but we have all the cards, and as a team, they're
So
going to be
no,
able to buy.
there's no Alabama card.
It's not, no Alabama card. So just all these really fun ones. And so they work as a team to buy a property, one of the cards.
Sure.
So what I'm thinking is, this is my next thought process, and maybe you could help me with it, is I think that if they end up as a team purchasing a card,
Mm-hmm.
maybe getting a little bit of XP for their team, not individually, but for their team. Because it takes a while to build up enough to get points,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you only have the lower level deck, the green deck, I think. So it takes a little while. So I want to let them to have some reward for working together to purchase something. So I think maybe a little XP for your team once you buy a property, whether it has a point or not.
Yeah. I think so. Neat mechanic here. The another thing that Carol mentioned was there are 3 decks in the game, and
Mm-hmm.
in the array you kind of put one row of sort of these green easier cards to achieve. Then is it yellow and then blue? I
Yes.
think. Yeah. So
Yellow.
yellow's like medium,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
blue is like the most
Hard.
valuable, but also like the most difficult to achieve cards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so okay, so you're gonna have these. You're really working on them. Buying one of the first green cards is what you're
Right.
talking about to the audience here. They, but what you're gonna do different is it's gonna be like hidden. They won't see what they should save. So there's gonna be this like anxious round of do we
Right.
save 3 of our greens and then the 2 blues and the
Right.
whatnot and whatnot. Uh, all right, so that's a fun, exciting moment. So I think you should keep that mechanic. I
Right.
love that sort
Right.
of like a what should we do? A strategize moment, and
Right.
that'll become more and more interesting strategizing
Mm-hmm.
when they can mitigate against the luck of what the array is going to be
Right.
once they have some of their own permanent cards, right?
Right.
Because now, like, they'll be like, oh, we kept 3 green, but it's okay because we do have like those blues and those reds in card format. So
Right.
that's good. Uh, so I'd keep that. Then, with what would be on your cards, I would suggest adding some things that are more in your gamified world that are outside of the game world, the Splendor game, but
Hmm.
unique to your game. So maybe having some of them have uh, a, an additional icon on them is what I'm
Ah.
thinking. And this will give you room to maybe give some power ups. So
Mhm.
if, let's say, they collected 3 stable icons, that means they could like do something like they'd earn a power up, like as a group, as a grade, as a team, as a
I
house,
like that.
So now you're, because yours is a year long game, you're taking what is a
Right.
40-minute game and making a year long
Right.
game out of it. So we have to think of ways to make it a little more complex but still keep that simplicity, because you don't want to spend a ton of curricular time explaining how this all works, and you
Right.
want it to be something they can kind of figure out on their own. So having some extra icons on a card could be cool, where, oh, we collected 3 stable icons, oh, we collected 3 palace icons, we collected 3 Herod
Right.
graphics, like whatever. And then see how that plays out. And the nice thing too is that's a muscle you can flex. You can have other cards that are like, if you could have it where they have to have more of them. So instead of 3, like, oh, if somebody happens to have collected 3 or 5 of these, or make it combinations, like having 3, like Roman whatever icons and 3 Herod icons does this. You have to fill in the blank on what this is in terms of what it works. But um, that's another interesting game mechanic. So now they're looking at what gems are going to help them in future rounds, future draft rounds. What icons do we want to like get a good mix of icons? So now you've like added another layer, just like the gems. Do you get a vast variety? Do you like really double down on having the same? You know, you
Hmm.
could have kind of a wild icon too, so that like it works with everyone. Like, you know, you could make like maybe the Holy Spirit graphic or something that just kind of
Right.
works with everyone, right?
Right. Right. That's right. That's right.
So, uh, you know, that's really nice that you have such a rich story to draw from, because like
Right.
there are easy connections to make. So, okay, so we have that. We got these cards they're going to get. Now, I have a question for you. Where are they going to put all these?
Well, I'm going to let one person, they have in their folders, they have, of course, the little baseball card holders where they collect their cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I may give one to someone on their team to hold just the properties. So I
Okay.
may give them another sleeve just to hold these.
And there's
Is what
what? There's six types, right, in Splendor, if you're doing the exact
there's
Splendor game.
five
And then the
gems and
wild.
then gold. And then the
Yeah.
gold. Yeah.
So 6 total. Uh huh. How many people do you have in like a group right now?
We have the most we have is four.
Hmm.
Most are
Uh
three.
it could be kind of cool. I'm just thinking like it'd be neat if they all have those baseball card holders. If we came up with a way in which, because they have 9 pockets, like in a row of 3 by 3 array.
Hmm.
Like, I'm just trying to think of like, it'd be kind of cool if kids held cards of a certain type, and then
Hmm.
when it was like time to like buy and draft and whatever, you'd have all of them pop it out and kind of lay all 4 in a row, so you can kind
Hmm.
of almost quickly build what would be in front of you in the game. Like in the game, I have my like green pile, my red pile, my blue pile, and you can quickly see like, look, I have 3 reds, 3 blues, 2 greens. Well, if I'm the one holding the greens and I've got 5 greens, 3 going down and then 2 more. Next
Right.
person has like the blues and the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yellows and the what. But then like you just tell them like it's time to buy or whatever, and then they all like pop them out and lay them next to each other. You now
Right.
have like our team has this.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
That could be
I
cool.
like that.
Um, and now with yours, are you gonna add anything above this? Like, is there gonna be? Because in Splendor, you're spending gems to buy permanent gems to eventually get points
Right.
slash more gems. Are we adding another component at all to that?
Well, I don't know. I've not thought about that yet. So, sometimes I just jump right in there and and just
That is
start.
that is something that I think is super awesome, and I hope people that are listening to this hear that is what we should do. I think in gamification is like put it in motion, and it will either not come to like the ideal that piece that element you add won't come to fruition, which is okay. I tell my
Right.
kids all the time that every year I'm trying new things, and some of them are going to get finished, and some of them aren't, and or it will, right? Like so, but if we try to like design it all before we even go live, like there's going to be so many twists and turns. It's almost better to remain flexible, put it in
Right.
play, see what the kids are responding to, and like make some changes. Like you
Right.
had shared with me before the episode started that kids are in your school are really loving gold. And I
Right.
don't I don't mean splendor gold, I mean your like game gold.
Right.
So, like maybe having some of these things generate gold. Like if you have a certain, maybe like there's a certain graphic on there that like is plus gold. Maybe some of them aren't only earning the splendor points, but the XP points, right? Um,
How would you have that in place so they know what's going to, are you going to have a chart? Would you have,
I'd
how would
try to
you keep up
I'd
with
try
that?
to put it on the I would try to probably put it on the card. And
Okay.
maybe what you could do is just spitballing here, but what if what if each card could only be used for one thing per like purchasing round?
Hmm.
And purchasing rounds is when these things all get activated. So, sweet, we're going to come together. What are the 10 chips we're going to save?
Hmm.
10 gems we're going to save, the non permanent gems. We decided that as a group. Cool. Then we look, because we know, like we're pretending this is like several weeks into doing this. They understand how this works. On that like buying day, they also look at all their cards, and some of their cards have like, this is a red gem. Oh, we could use that in the buying round for a red gem. This is also like, you know,
Bethlehem, another Bethlehem card.
Bethlehem. Yeah, it's a Bethlehem card, and if we had 3 Bethlehem cards, we know that like because you could have like on the card itself, almost like an item card, right? You could explain, you know, this is a red gem. It is a Bethlehem card. Colon. If you play 3 of them, you get this bonus. And
Hmm.
then additionally, you could have a line that's like, this is some of them, not all of them. These are not on every card. These are just different functions of
Right.
cards. Some of them could have like, this is also worth this much XP. This one's worth this much gold. And it's like, oh, like in this buy round, let's not really concentrate so much on buying another card. Let's use some of these for the other functions. Like, hey, look, we have 3 of them that give us 500 XP if we used all 3 of these, not for their gems, but like used them for their XP during this activation round.
Right.
We might be buying a green or an easier card because we only have our 10 chips then. Because as the game
Right.
progresses, everyone that's listening, as the game progresses, you need to use your chips and cards to buy those
Right.
higher cards. Well, a group could decide this round, we're not going to like concentrate on buying one of those bigger cards. We're going to concentrate on like using these cards that we have for their other functions, gaining gold, gaining XP, you know, so it becomes kind of an interesting like how do we want to use their cards.
Right. Yep. Yep. I
Maybe
like
maybe
that.
you maybe you could even graphically write like if you did it where it's like the orientation of the card.
Hmm.
right? Like maybe if the card was like if you because then you can walk around the classroom or whatever and easily sort of document this. Like if it's tilted this way, they're using it for XP. Like, oh, they got like 3 tilted to the left like that, and it's displaying like 200 plus 200 plus 200. Oh, so they get 600 XP because it's tilted that way. Oh, these
Right.
guys are doing it for gold, and it's like I got a giant coin, and it's like 50, 50, 50. Oh, they get 150 gold. These guys have it for the gem. So like in the buying round, they have 3 red gems
Right.
plus whatever their non-permanents are.
Right. Yep.
Does
Yep.
that make sense?
That does make sense. I'm trying to think. I've already printed out the green deck,
Okay,
um, and laminated them.
perfect.
So I'm trying to think how I mean, I can reprint them. It's not a big deal because we've not played it yet. Or I could get it to
Or that could
front the
be.
deck's the back, or it could be the yellow deck starts it.
I was gonna say like that could be like the green deck could all be about like you just need
Gems.
gems. Like these are the
Right.
this is like where you're gonna farm for gems to be able to like buy the better things. And so
Right.
like
That's
all
what I
of
was
what I just
thinking.
described could be like the next level.
Right. And what I like about this and is because this could be just a short, like if you need like a 5-10 minute something.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying this would be a great, just like, hey, we're gonna do our Splendor round for just a second, just a real quick. It's just team play.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that fact that it's just something really quick you can do. They work as a team. They have to work together. They have to use strategy, and it's just for a really short thing.
The other thing too is if you start doing multi-use cards like I described,
Hmm.
even more so, you could do short burst activities. Because let's say kids did a great job and you have like 3 extra minutes, you could you come up with some fun name for it, like I don't know, I don't know, land of milk and honey round or whatever. And this is when they get to like maybe because it's milk and honey, those are two
Right.
things. Maybe they get to activate 2 cards, not for their gems. So this isn't a full round of like buying and
Buying
drafting
properties.
cards. But this is like you get to activate for those other features 2 cards, milk and honey cards, like sweet.
Right.
So like, oh, cool. Like we could go with both XP things. We could go with both gold things. Maybe as you start to develop this, you come up with other like things that they can earn. Like, like yeah, we want this, or maybe even think of adding some things in there that aren't game related, because sometimes that helps kids that don't care as much about the games. Like they don't necessarily want XP or gold. Maybe like some of it is like we're gonna bank some extra minutes for like some sort of fun Friday,
Right.
and it's like, oh cool, we're gonna activate these, and like you can have like a total on your board where like, all right, we're up to like 7 minutes for like a
Oh
fun
yeah.
activity. Like, and when that gets to like 30 minutes, we'll have a 30-minute
Yep.
fun day. But like that's kind of cool that kids are choosing to like activate that and like put that in there, put that into the
Yep.
jar.
Yeah. I
Um,
like
and what you can do to grow with the game, so kids don't game the system,
that.
um, make it so that every time they buy like a Fun Friday or something, like the Fun Friday itself gets upgraded, so it gets harder and harder to buy.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not always like 30 minutes buys the Fun Friday. Like, the first one's 30 minutes, or maybe the first one's 20 minutes. Make it like super easy, like to buy. But then it's going to go to like 25, 30. Not necessarily time, so maybe we wouldn't call them minutes, but 30 gold buys you the Fun Friday activity. But then it's going to be like 35 gold is going to buy the fun activity, or, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it.
Yeah. A funny side note: one of our combat kids gaming a system. One of our kids has decided he's going to be a banker
Nice.
and and loan out gold with interest.
I
So
love it.
his mom's like, do y'all let him do this? I said, we're just going to let that roll for a little bit and just see. I said, we have the rights to shut it down at any time, but we're just going to kind of see how it plays out.
I
He's
think
only
and
had one taker. He only had one taker so far, so we're not too worried.
I think too, anytime I think you played that right. One, you reassured the parent you're not going to let it get out of hand. Two, you also gave the kid some leeway, because a lot of these games that they're used to playing are open world games where you can kind of try to do anything, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Like
Right.
I've had plenty of kids try to start little businesses, but
Right.
like
Right.
nine, just like the real world, most businesses like don't succeed because
Right.
people don't actually need that service that you thought of. Like,
That's right.
and in your game, like the odds of actually like needing gold so much that you're willing to incur the interest is probably not there, so he's not going to get a ton of takers. I had
Right.
somebody this past week make an insurance company where he would replace your items
Oh.
if they got like taken away in the game,
Yeah.
but like it didn't really work because like he doesn't have every item. So like
That's what I was trying to figure out.
like no, it's a terrible idea. But he's 11, and he's thinking like, wow, like somebody loses something, they're gonna want like insurance. So like, yeah, let's give him insurance. And it's like, yeah, like I get where you got the idea, but like, there's no way this is gonna actually work. But like, I don't need to like make that happen. Like the market's gonna make that happen because
That's
it's
right.
not a good idea.
It's a real life situation. You'll find out.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Carol, this is like neat to like talk through this game mechanic stuff with you. I hope other people get this idea of take a moment, like look at some of your favorite games, look at some of the games that are out there, buy a game and play it, and see like what elements they can build in. I mean, this has been a really, I think, eye-opening topic for people because we really like went through Splendor, went through some of the ways you're using it, and I hope it's helpful for people out there.
And can I bring this up too? Is the people who make the games, if there's a game you love, there's a reason why you love it. And so they already have the game mechanics in there. So you don't have to do all the work. Like, for example, the cards I made, they already have specifically how many gems you need to buy each property
Uh huh.
with the gem at the top. So all I had to do is make it with my scenes in it, because it's just for my game. And so I was able to make sure that it would be fair and the gems were able to be spent well. So it wasn't like I was trying to make
Figure
it
out
all
the
work.
right. Yeah, you weren't trying to figure out the right distribution
Right,
of like how many red gems should be in the deck or how many like should this card cost.
right,
So that's a good suggestion too. Like they've already done that heavy lifting for you.
right.
Carol, as always, we have reflection time that I want to like hear your take on this quote here.
Okay.
Uh, this one is by uh, Brian Tracy, and it is that there are no limits to what you can accomplish except the limits you place on your own thinking.
Mm, that's a nice quote.
I like it.
Um, I do. I like it a lot. I just think that so many times, going back to where people go, don't try something because they don't have it all worked out. And you don't have to do that, not only if in a gamified world, but in any kind of educational idea. You don't have to have it all worked out or know it's going to work to try it, because you don't. The great things in this world that have been created and made and the new things that happen because someone tried it not knowing the outcome, just hoping it would be great. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that we're only limited if we put those limits on us.
I agree. I think this really works into what we're talking about because you know, uh, sometimes we're intimidated when we say we want to start creating a gamified class, and you're like, oh, I can't make a whole game and whatever. One, that's putting limits on yourself. Two, like, you're not doing this in isolation. Like, don't put the limit that you can't look at a game. Like, take your favorite game mechanics. What is it that you love about Splendor? You obviously loved Splendor, and you're like, this could work. And you didn't limit yourself with, like, well, I can't, that's Splendor. I mean, no, you said, like, this is awesome. How can I use this in my classroom, right? You went from inspiration into like practical. How can I do it? And I think that's awesome. So like, let's not limit our thinking by saying we can't, right? Like, let's be open. Let's keep that mind open. I love it. Well, Carol, thank you again for joining. Well played once again. Love having you on. You're
I
such a
love being on.
you're such a vibrant personality. I love it. I love it. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Everyone that's listening here, thank you again for joining each and every week. I love it. Check out the Well Played podcast on my website, MrMatera.com. You can get it on iTunes. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it on the Google Play Store. There's all sorts of places you can check it out. And I would love for you to join the YouTube channel. Check that out as well. Lots of content there. And that's all I got for you today. So take care, guys.